Thank you for choosing to listen to the sample audiobook from Artesia Northe. To listen to the full book, visit artesianorthe.com, and with no further interruption. Chapter 1. Marma Todd worried that the batteries would go bad again, always at the worst time it seemed. The winter weather in Alamo, Texas, was normally mild this time of year, but currently was anything but mild. Damn, lights have to go out now. The old woman tilted her Matterhorn/Swiss signature cloth hat, doing her best to see what happened to the dimly lit driving lights situated low on the front of her modified golf cart. Smitty won't be happy if I bother him, oh well. Clicking her hand-held radio to Channel 6, the driver of the darkened cart spoke in as low a voice as she possibly could, which was actually borderline screaming with a normal person. Smitty Smith. I can't see anything out here on the perimeter. Come in, please. Chucky Smith, the unofficial communication officer and quasi-leader for the dilapidated mobile home park, shook his head with disgust as someone proved again an inability to follow proper radio etiquette. Since there's only one person left on the patrol shift as dawn approached, he knew the screaming banshee on the other end could only be Marma. Marma, please use proper radio protocol. As a reminder, you are Station 7, remember? The gruff old woman was freezing and had no time or patience for correction. Smitty, my lights don't work. How am I to patrol our perimeter if I can't see 2 feet in front of me? The man on the other end of the radio cautioned Station 7 to be calm and not quite so loud. Marma, Station 7, you have to speak in a lower voice. If they hear you, you and all of us will be in big trouble, imminent danger. Now please lower your voice and tell me what the problem is. The old woman had a difficult time holding the speak button down because of her heavy wool mittens. I'll Station 7 you, you old goat. Marma, you are holding the button down. I want you to know that I heard you call me an old goat. Actually, he didn't care and was not offended by her observation. What is your 20, dear? I'll come to you. With afterthought, he wanted to avoid any confusion. Marma, when I say 20, I mean your 10 to 20 or your location, okay? She looked at the radio and answered that she knew that, even though they both knew that she certainly didn't. With a chuckle under his breath, he departed in his own, fully enclosed golf cart, the only amenity he received for his thankless volunteer leadership position. Piercing the cold South Texas freeze, the itinerant and unofficial camp officer slowed to a stop as the comical antics of the so-called perimeter guard were anything but subtle. What are you doing, Marma Todd? I'm keeping warm, doing jumping jacks, you old geezer. Smiling at the good-natured dig, Smitty pulled his coat closer and tilted his hat down against the cold wind, something that was relatively foreign to this Texas border city. Thinking to himself about the reason he moved to this part of the country initially was the weather. His family normally ice-cubed their ass off in a deep-freezing Iowa winter ice chest, and now he shared the same fate to a slightly lesser degree. Running recent history through his noggin, the last 3 months proved to be a disaster, leaving him and the few remaining residents made up of an army of old folks, collectively known as the Boomer Patrol. He was 73, and the rest of the enclave called him the Kid. Just about the only thing that made him chuckle in recent memory. Marma, quit jumping. You're making me nervous. We don't know who's looking at us or what's going to happen next. Calm down, will you, sweetie? Come over to my cart and get out of the wind. I'll look at your lights, okay? The old woman was glad to escape the freezing wind, and irreverently bugging her pseudo-boss was a fun exercise. Smitty relived the recent events all over in his mind as he purposely walked forward, passing Marma, who gave him a playful high five. The economic collapse that occurred, with all of the world's powerful leaders agreeing on moving all at once, money becoming worthless, financial civilization ceasing, as most people slept. Millions of the world's population dying of heart and respiratory ailments in unison, governmental order decayed almost overnight, and the greatest threat of artificial intelligence was unveiling itself on a daily, hourly basis. The kid shared everyone's suspicion that the monetary and health failures were manipulated along with the rise of artificial intelligence and a flourishing robotic culture, as it all seemed to be poised to manipulate society and take over. Starting off as a light-hearted drawing and art applications, and ending up with full-blown mechanical robots that emulated soldiers and grotesque pack animals, all became a more terrifying reality every day. It all happened too quickly for his taste, and along with an already suspicious nature when it came to government and power in general, he found that he and everyone else underestimated their new common enemy. The rapidity of how they filled the planned void and managed to take over all aspects of society was beyond his and others' imagination. Back to the reality at hand, he found a loose wire, probably knocked off its post by the clumsy driver. Smitty illuminated the landscape in an understated way, as the lights weren't that bright or placed high enough. His eye caught the reflection of something metal just beyond the chain-link fence, and as he thought of turning the light off, the reflection disappeared. Looking back, he asked his companion if she saw what he thought he saw. With despair, he noticed that the woman had her coat up around her eyes, and was no help to identify potential danger. It was then that he heard the light clicking, almost electronic sounds, just outside of the fence. Marma looked at the man in front of her, and saw that something causing great concern, and if he was scared, she knew that she should also be very urgently ready to make a fast retreat. As Smitty ran towards her, Marma zipped up the enclosure on her side of the cart, all the while knowing that it would not protect her. "Sound the air horn, Marma. Everybody needs to get to base now." Sounding the canned air, boat horn, everyone who heard it knew where to meet, and they knew that things were not all right, not in the least. Chuck Smith ran to gather the remaining citizens of the Rancho de Invierno, a winter Texan retirement community, and acting much like a chicken gathering her brood, waving his arms, motioning all to enter the tornado fallout shelter that was once an underground storage facility. As he did so, he couldn't help but to look back towards the entrance gate, and the image of a solitary outline of a human-like figure surrounded by a non-human robotic enemy, poised to breach the 8-foot fence that surrounded the southeastern Texas property, causing him to be overcome with fear. Thank you for listening to the sample audiobook from Artesia Northe. To listen to the full book, visit artesianorthe.com.